would have told you that you write it and you send it to a publisher, and they publish it, and that's it. And then everybody's happy. But it doesn't work quite that way. It's a lot harder than just writing a book. And I think everybody knows that when you get on a journey like this, the Stacy's been on, it's a real roller coaster in a lot of different ways. And I think I'm pretty fortunate to have had a front seat in that roller coaster with Stacy for the last 7-8 years. She's kind of gone through this journey, working towards being published. And I think one of the things they don't tell you right up front when you start writing a book is how much rejection is involved in writing, and people telling you that they don't like what you're writing. And I should have got the cowboy hat out there so I could take my hat off to Stacy, just because she's had so many opportunities to give up and throw in the towel and stop writing these last 8 years, but she hasn't. She's persevered. She's written 4 novels. This is the first that's been published, and I'm so proud of her.
Okay, well, I hate impromptu speaking with passion. Maybe it's the actress in me that if I have my lines, I'm okay. So I wrote out my speech so I would remember what I wanted to say. First of all, thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. Really appreciate that. Like Peter said, this is a dream of mine that's been 8 years in the making. But actually, it began way, way earlier than that. When I was 11, I wrote my little journal, things that I wanted to accomplish in my life. And one of those that I wrote was that I wanted to write and publish a book. So that was at age 11. Before I started seriously writing in 2004, when my oldest son, Tyler, was just a couple months old, the longest thing I'd ever written was a 50-page romance that I did for a creative writing class. And I thought 50 pages was really long. But then fast forward to when I finished my first book, and that was almost 500 pages. So that was really, really long. Once I finished that first book, I started writing on the companion novel, and Caleb, the hero of Lady Outlaw, was actually in my first novel, and I wanted to give him his own story. I figured he needed a girl, and so I set about writing his and Jenny's story. I knew right from the beginning that I wanted a female outlaw. I wanted kind of a Robin Hood figure, because Jenny robs stage bandits of their stolen money so that she can save her farm, her ranch. So she kind of a tale of does the means justify the end. So I finished that book in about a year, and I really didn't think I would do anything with it. I wasn't trying to get it published or anything. I kind of set it aside, and I wrote my third book, and that was the one that I was trying to get published. When I first began pursuing first publication, I thought if you had religious elements in your story, that really the only avenue to publish would be with one of the LDS publishers. But the third book that I wrote didn't have any LDS specific content in it. And around this time, when I finished the book and submitted it to a publisher, I read my first Christian historical book called She Walks in Beauty, and it's by Siri Mitchell. And I absolutely loved it. I loved the story and the characters and the faith elements that she had in it. And so on a whim, I decided I'm going to email her and just tell her how much I love her book. So I did, and told her I was a writer and how much I really enjoyed her book. And to my surprise, she emailed back. And it was a super gracious email, and she asked if I was going to be going to the American Christian Fiction Writers Conference in Indiana, which was just a couple weeks away. And I hadn't heard anything about this conference, but it got the wheels turning, and I kind of joked to Peter, maybe I should go. And in true Peter fashion, he said, go for it. And knowing that I was going to be away from home for 5 days, and I had to get a flight and a hotel. The hotel where the conference was already filled, so she had to figure out how to get a taxi to go there. So this is a big decision. So ultimately, I prayed about it, and I felt all right about going to the conference. But what I really got out of that experience was the strongest impression that pursuing writing in the Christian market was what I was supposed to do. So I went to the conference. I actually got to meet that author, Siri, in person, and she was just as kind as she was in her email. And that was a lot of fun. I also met with an agent at that conference, and I pitched her my 3rd book. And she liked it, but when I told her the premise of Lady Outlaw, she loved it and said, send the whole thing. So I got it ready and I sent it to her, and a couple months later I found out she retired. So that sort of closed the door on that opportunity. But in May of last year, Harlequin was hosting a pitch contest, and since I had this book already ready, and I loved the premise, I thought I'll just pitch this. So I did, and I was one of 6 finalists that got to chat online with one of their editors, and she said, send me the whole thing. So I did, and initially they said no. And at that point, I thought, I don't have anything to lose by asking them, would you read it again if I fix some of the areas that are a little bit weak? Because the editor mentioned the things that she loved about the book. And so last September, this month last year, she emailed me back and said, yes, we'll see it again if you want to fix it and send it. So I did, with a lot of help from my wonderful husband and my critique group. Sorry, what's back there? Thanks to them, all the guns in my book are correct, and all the horses have names. Because originally, I'm like, they're just riding a horse. And they said, no, they need to have names. People really value their horses back then. So, thanks to them, they have names. So I did all the revising and I sent it back in. And waited, and on January 13th of this year, actually Friday the 13th, so I'm kind of feeling like that's my lucky day now, I got a call from Harlequin, and they said that they wanted to publish my book. And here we are today. So that's the real condensed version of my journey. I couldn't be happier publishing in the Christian market. It's really large. I had no idea how big it was. There's such a market out there for people who want clean, faith-filled books, whether that's romance or historical or suspense. That's what they want, and so it's a really huge market. Before this year, I was sure that I was the only Mormon pursuing a career in the Christian market. This year I actually discovered another published author here in Utah who publishes in the Christian market, and I met online another Christian fiction writer, and they're both LDS, so our numbers are slowly growing, which is exciting. So with that, I am thrilled tonight to announce that I am going to be publishing a 3-book inspirational World War I series with another large New York publisher, Grand Central Publishing. And the first book is slated to be released in March of 2014. So, they've done romance for a long time, but they're just entering into inspirational romance. And actually this November, their very first inspirational romance will come out. It's called An Heiress at Heart, and the author is Jennifer Delamere, and so she'll be their first inspirational romance author, and I have the opportunity of being the second. So I'm really excited about that. Anyway, thanks so much again for being here. You know, the saying is that it takes a village to raise a kid, and I think that's true of raising a book. So I want to thank all of you, and let's get the party started.
I forgot to mention just a couple quick things. tonight. Couple thank yous especially. Want to offer a big thanks to Clementine Farms for letting us be here tonight. As Lee said, Lee's been my dear friend, pretty much like a second dad to me since I was 14 years old. We owe so much to him. He's just, his kindness and generosity are amazing. Also, to turn about Stillwater Academy, you noticed on the way in there were 4 girls directing traffic. Those girls are on a journey a lot like Jenny, in that they're growing and learning to make better choices. And so we're really grateful for Turnabout Stillwater who helped with all the setup tonight. So.